Hello friends, Frogopolis here, and today I would like to talk about Dark Harvest. Not the Dark Harvest from 2004, not the Dark Harvest from 2016, not the Dark Harvest from 1992, but Dark Harvest that just came out recently in this year of 2023. The movie's based off a 2006 book by Norman Partridge. Being a fairly new film, I know people might not want spoilers, which I am going to get into, so if you're interested in Dark Harvest, I do recommend it. But if you don't care about spoilers and just want to hear me talk about it, then let's get into it. Dark Harvest is about a small Midwest town in the 60s where once a year, a bunch of teenage boys are set about to kill Sawtooth Jack, and if they fail to, their crops will wither and people will die. A big old cloud of black smoke will appear and untold horrors will happen, so no pressure. Of course, Sawtooth Jack isn't just gonna let a bunch of damn teenagers kill him, so they're putting their lives at risk to save their crops against this pumpkin-headed monster from beyond. After Sawtooth Jack is done killing one of them and setting him on fire, they chase him down as a big group until one of them beats him with a bat, then tears him open and starts eating his innards, which are made of candy. Then a whole bunch of them start coming in and eating his innards too. This triumphant young man is named Jim Shepard, and when you kill Sawtooth Jack, you get a car, $25,000, and a house. So there's a lot of incentive to enter this thing once a year. I absolutely love how they just throw you right into this absolutely bizarre ritual, and everything's treated completely normal and completely seriously. Having it take place in the 60s, this makes it that much stranger, and I absolutely love it. So Jim gets into his brand new Cadillac and goes riding off to see the world. And then we get into a year later. So now a year later, we're now introduced to Richie, who's Jim's younger brother, and is determined to enter into this year's competition to kill Sawtooth Jack. Now we do see Richie a little bit in the introduction, but now a year later he's a smoking, disheveled, hardened teen and in a gang, just like every other teenager in the 60s. We also get to learn more about what happens leading up to the big event, and this is told to us by Officer Jerry Ricks, who is wonderfully hammy. And I say this in the most positive way, as he is just a massive piece of shit and very over the top, and he's the funniest part of the film. He's great. You'll like him. Well, you'll hate him, but you know what I mean. During this presentation, getting this new year of young guys ready to kill themselves some Sawtooth Jack, they don't think Richie should be there since his brother won last year. But Richie also wants to get the hell out of this small town, so of course he's going to go into it. This results in them getting into a scuffle where Richie leaves the school, gets chased down, but finds a place to hide out, and this is where we're introduced to Kelly Haynes. A lot like Richie, Kelly Haynes also wants to get out of this small town, and has extra reason to, as she has been orphaned and is the only black woman in a town in the 1960s. Richard and Kelly have a really good chemistry throughout the film, and you can see it in their first meeting. Their shared dream to leave this small town behind and make a life for themselves is one of the things that was really compelling for me. Now, as much as I like these characters, I feel some of the other characters could have been fleshed out a bit more, and the mythos surrounding the town too, and this is one of those things you can run into when you adapt a book into a film. There were some characters that seemed pretty interesting, but never really got developed and were pretty unceremoniously killed off later in the film. And that was kind of disappointing. I mean, it was inevitable considering what was going on, but I don't know, give him a bit more to do, you know? We see that Richie's parents don't want him to participate in this year's run, and do everything in their power to discourage him. especially since they realize that he's using it as an excuse to run away from the town and them. You can tell that Richie's brother winning and leaving had a huge impact on him. You can tell the parents have also been hit pretty hard by Jim's absence since winning the competition and going away. It's understandable that they don't want to lose another son. Now back to Sawtooth Jack. You see how they prepare him for the big day by prepping up his corpse onto a wooden cross and putting a pumpkin on his head that rots to his face, and it looks really cool and gnarly. All the teenage boys that are in this competition this year are locked in their room for 3 days with no food, so when they're finally let out, they're starving and stir-crazed. And this leads to just absolute chaos, and it's super fun to watch. And of course, Sawtooth Jack has been let loose and is just causing havoc everywhere. He's cutting people in half, he cuts a guy's head clean off. Sawtooth Jack cuts one of the guy's heads clean in half, and he's able to momentarily talk before dying. And I like little touches like that. It really adds to the film. Also, Sawtooth Jack also goes into a cellar where a bunch of guys are hiding, and you don't see what happens, but the cellar just gushes out full of blood, and it's great. They do a pretty good job showing how terrified and out of their element these guys really are. It is terrifying and absurd and kind of funny. A few days before the big event, Richie actually gets in his father's car and attempts to just drive out of town, but is stopped by the sheriff, who just kinda beats the crap out of him. And this is 60s law enforcement, so you know he's at least 10% scummier than current law enforcement. Richie, having failed to escape the town, goes back to his original plan to simply win the event after his friends are brutally murdered by Sawtooth Jack. He's surprised to see Kelly is actually part of the hunt too, despite not being allowed because she's a girl. So we follow our duo as they try to hunt down Sawtooth Jack and take him out for themselves. And they don't pull any punches, as they will gladly beat the shit out of whoever tries to stop them and steal the officer's police car so they can get a hold of a gun in a vehicle. So now we have Officer Rick the Prick trying to get his car back, and at the same time Richie's dad is out trying to find his son who crept out to be part of the run. But Richie's dad isn't just there to bring his son back home safely. He knows something far darker that hasn't been fully realized yet. What is Sawtooth Jack? How does he keep coming back every year to terrorize the town and seemingly bring it to ruin if he isn't stopped? Well, we find out when Rich and Kelly run into him, and when Rich has the chance to shoot him and win the competition, he noticed something peculiar about him. Sawtooth Jack is wearing the same belt that Jim was wearing on the night that he won the competition. We find out Sawtooth Jack is Jim Tooth Jack. So Richard is sure as hell surprised by this, so when he goes back to his house with Kelly, he confronts his mom about it, and his mom has the totally normal explanation of taking a shard of glass and stabbing herself with it. But we can put 2 and 2 together and basically figure out that every year the winner of the Dark Harvest Festival is murdered and then comes back as a demon zombie pumpkin-headed monster to continue the tradition. I like how, despite how bizarre this premise is, that the characters continue to take it all very seriously, and you can see how hard this hits Richard and how it's affected his mother and father, who is just completely lost and hopeless. Anyway, there's more carnage, there's more murder, and eventually we get our big showdown with Sawtooth Jack. We actually get this very touching scene where Jim seems to recognize his younger brother for a moment before being shot in the head, and as he's laying there, dying in Richie's arms, Sawtooth Jack wordlessly puts the gun to his head and basically asks Richie to kill him. And wow, I was not expecting this in a movie about a killer demon pumpkin monster. So after Richie reluctantly kills his brother, everyone starts chanting Richie is the winner, and then crowd around Sawtooth Jack and start eating him. It is surreal and horrifying. So during his ceremony, he decides to take the car he wins to just drive away with Kelly, even though he knows he'll probably die, but what other choice does he have? And unfortunately, he only gets so far because there's a huge truck in the way, and Officer Dickhead is there to stop him. So Richie reluctantly goes with Officer Jerry, and Jerry takes him to this big hole in the ground where he's gonna kill him and dump his body in there. But Richie gets the upper hand when he takes out a gun that Kelly gave to him earlier and shoots Officer Jerry dead. But this victory is short-lived, because he's then hit in the head with a shovel by the farmer we saw earlier who sets up Sawtooth Jack. So Richie is buried alive because we cannot have nice things, and Kelly reluctantly has to drive off on her own. She's hesitant to, but Richard's father shows up and just says to drive and get out of there. And that's a pretty sad ending. But in the mid-credits, we see Richard's dad cut down his body after it's been set up for the ritual, kill the farmer, and then say that he's going to help him burn it all down. Despite some flaws, I thought this movie was pretty great. I really liked the design of Sawtooth Jack and the sort of aesthetic of all these guys running around in Halloween costumes was really cool. I like how there were 3 of them in 3 Stooges outfits. That was a really fun touch. So if you're looking for something to add to your Halloween movie list, go ahead and check out Dark Harvest. Thank you for watching, stay away from spooky little towns, and have a happy Halloween. Bye!